Well. How the tables have turned. So Mindy Kaling and everyone else has been like, oh my God, thank you for such a great, opening episode. And, oh my God, so many people tuned in. How Velma became the most hated TV show on TV. Now, one of the most hated things of all time has been Dragon Ball Evolutions. This has beat out Dragon Ball Evolution. For the longest time, it was like by far like the worst rated media. This has beat it out. Dragon Ball Evolution is no longer the top this is the top contender because people hate it on both sides. It's like I've said, it's like the people who make this, are a certain political affiliation, and they cannot fathom the idea of people who think like them not liking the show. They think that, oh my God, if we have gays peoples and colored peoples and diversities and gazes and kissings, then people are gonna love it. The people are, but then the same people who they think are gonna like it end up like no, no, But so these people cannot conceive the idea of people on their side not liking it. So she would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling Scooby-Doo fans. When HBO hired comedian and actress Mindy Kaling to reboot the delightfully ghoulish 70s cartoon for its new streaming service HBO Max, it seemed a no-brainer. Scooby-Doo was hilarious to begin with and has a vast and loyal following. Exactly. And you come out with, oh, Velma's gonna be Indian now. Daphne's gonna be freaking Asian and a complete freaking bitch. Let's make Shaggy black, for no freaking reason whatsoever. And let's just take Scooby out. Oh wait, possibly adding Scooby into the show, but as a black woman. So many of the same generation as 43-year-old Kaling, plus Kaling's animated series Velma would celebrate original nerd girl Velma Dinkley, the dork with oversized spectacles and not so secret brains of the operation. Nerds have never been cooler. Ooh. Kaling is one of the most... Are you sure about that? Kaling is one of the most respected comedians on American television. What could go wrong? Lots, it turns out. The backlash against Velma has essentially united all of humanity and every side of the culture wars. Its diverse casting and racial revisionism have angered extremists. Are you sure it's just extremists or people who, like normie people, normies who maybe people are just tired of it? It always happens. Apparently, it's always extremists. Maybe people are just tired of race swapping and gender swapping and ruining characters for the sake of ruining characters. All these franchises that are coming out now based on established established franchises. It's like Lord of the Rings. This is probably the best one to talk about. They come out and said, oh yeah, we're gonna making Rings of Power, right? And we're going to base it on the Second Age, which is great because there really hasn't been a whole lot on the Second Age. Quite frankly, I would have started from the freaking beginning, Iluvatar and, his creation of everything and singing everything into existence and crap like that. But hey, if they want to do with the Second Age and the Numenorians and this and that, whatever. But they come out and say, oh, well, we're not going to change any of the lore. Whatever Tolkien has made, we're going to stay true to that. We're just going to, we're going to make characters, but they're going to just kind of be there to help things along. It's not going to change the plot or anything. But then they completely changed the lore. They're making black elves for no fucking reason. The black dwarves and, the marketing is like, oh, the first black dwarf, first black elf and blah, blah. It's like, no one cares. We want Tolkien. We want Lord of the Rings. You have the Rings of Power, the title. You have Sauron creating the Rings of Power for the dwarves, elves, and the kings of men. But then the 3 rings for the elves, apparently Galadriel makes, even though that's not possible because she's not the one who did it in the lore. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to stay true. But then they mess it up. And that's what gets fans pissed off. But viewers on the other end of the spectrum are appalled at the sexualizing of teens. Yeah, because they're supposed to be like 15 freaking years old. Now we get 15 years old, you're going to be, you know, but seeing that type of like, you know, there's like the one scene, like they're going in the freaking hallway and there's like one dude on top of the other and they're like we don't want to see that. We don't want to see people who are supposed to be like 15 years old sitting there like, you know, fucking sucking tongues. We don't want to see that. What was it? Teen, see below, and it's juvenile humor. Yeah, because one of the running jokes is white bad. Fred has a small penis. It's like, wow, real creative, coming from the mind of one of the greatest comedians, and that's the jokes you go for. White people and Fred has a small penis. Oh yeah, I can see why she's one of the best comedians. From puerile and anti-cancel culture websites such as 4chan to woke Twitter, seldom has a series raised hackle so emphatically. We live in an age when nobody can agree about anything, but now we can all come together to share our dislike of Velma. How could a Scooby-Doo spinoff have screwed the pooch? Yeah, I wonder. The answer to that question is provided 30 seconds into Velma, the opening 2 episodes of which have been received with horror and outrage by Scooby-Doo devotees. It begins with our heroine, voiced by Kaling, watching in disgusted fascination as 2 cockroaches enthusiastically copulate. Oh wow, so that's how the whole thing starts. She's watching 2 cockroaches have sex. Clearly the greatest mind of our generation. Next comes a lurid shower scene featuring semi-nude and unshamedly sexualized representation of 15-year-old girls. Then the victim of a serial killer tumbles out of a locker and is revealed to have her head sliced open in a style reminiscent of a torture porn movie. She has no brains, says Velma. The remark could have been directed at the show itself. Scooby-Doo diehards have been haven't been slow about venting their dislikes. Seething hatred is more accurate. Velma, executive producer produced by Kaling, but created by her writing partner Charlie Grandy, purports to tell the original origin story of Scooby's mystery gang of Velma, Fred, Daphne, and Stoner Shaggy. Currently has an abysmal 6% audience approval rating on movie review website Rotten Tomatoes, and utter disgrace to an icon. Writes one user, turn a beloved character into a psychotic fanfic, thundered another. Yeah. Like I've said, these characters, and you know, another person said that the characters back then, they were still stereotyped, but they were well-written characters. You know, Fred may have been the jock and whatever. Daphne may have been like the conceited one, but they were lovable. They were likable. You cared about them. If they were in danger, you cared. These characters in the show, they're the worst versions of themselves, and it's impossible to care about them. Like, if you're gonna make characters that no one cares about, you know, you need to feel related to a character in some kind of way. Otherwise, you're just kind of sitting there like, you know, that's one thing about people like about anime and stuff like that, because there's some really good, well-written characters. Luffy, Naruto, you know, these characters who have such progression. You know, when they win and they're triumphant, you feel happy. You know, you feel connected to them. But these characters, you know, Freddy, you don't feel connected to Fred. You know, Daphne and like Velma. In the other series, she's that really likable, nerdy girl. She might have some sass sometimes, but she's very likable. But here, she's just so hateful. You know, and like, Fred has a small wee wee. It's like, really? You're going for the petty insults? Social media has been no less damning. Velma was just boring and unfunny and sexualized teens, tweeted one viewer after the first two episodes debuted in the US on January 12th. It looks like Velma is shaping up to be a massive disaster, said another viewer. Note how she says she's 15. The first pick of the show was a naked Daphne. So they're sexualizing minors, and the writer is transphobic. The transphobic claims come from the fact that Kaling liked a tweet by J.K. Rowling. Okay, so that is bull. J.K. Rowling, all she said was that trans women aren't biological women. This woman is more woke than anyone else, but now everyone's turned on her because she said that trans women aren't biological women, which is true. Trans women still have all the bits and bobs down there. They still have a penis. They still have testicles. They're not biological women. So people are turning on her because of that. The Harry Potter author's views on gender have turned her into a... It's just stupid. Talking about just fucking her. It's yeah, see? Even Scrappy Dappy Doo! You know, even he had some charm. But look at them, they're just... No, Scooby. You're so sweet. It's like, it's because of Scooby I wanted a Great Dane. They're just great dogs. Unfortunately, he wouldn't talk to me, but, I mean, you know, Great Danes, still great dogs. Whatever about Kaling's personal views, the real problems with Velma are proudly on display on the screen. Red-haired Daphne, voiced by Constance Wu, an East Asian in this telling, is reborn as a sexually aggressive mean girl, age 15. Goody Two-Shoes Fred, Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is a sexist, blue-blooded himbo whose biggest crime is to be white. Sam Richardson, Shaggy. Also, some people are like, why are they naming him Norval? Shaggy's name has always been Norval. It's Norval Shaggy Rogers. He just, you know, he just goes by the nickname Shaggy, but his name has always been Norval. Introduced as his real name as Norval. Yeah, it's always been Norval. I see people like, oh my god, they're calling Shaggy Norval. It's always been that. His full name is, you know, Norval Rogers. So, is a broken man-child who has an unrequited crush on Velma. None bear any resemblance to their Scooby-Doo selves. Exactly. So, Fred is what they said is like the sexist and this and that. Daphne is a complete bitch now. Shaggy is basically a simp, you know, constantly, oh, Velma, please pay attention to me. And Velma, yes, this Velma is now a freaking hateful, spiteful bitch. Like, she's not Velma. That is particularly true of Velma herself. Kaling has reimagined the character as Indian American with a crippling self-esteem issue and a grudge against the entire world. Explaining her logic, Kaling said that as a young girl growing up in 80s Cambridge, Massachusetts, she is the privately educated daughter of an architect and a gynecologist. She saw in swatty, dorky Velma a version of herself. No. There's not a lot of representation of Indian Americans, girls of color in 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s animation. She said at New York Comic-Con. So what I loved about Velma is that she is the closest to what I could see. A smart A student with thick glasses that are always falling off, skeptical. She has a lot of these amazing qualities. And yet you made her so hated. She's not quirky and charming anymore. She's a bitch. However, not all Indian Americans appreciate Kaling for projecting the stereotype of the nerdy introvert onto Velma. Yeah, that's unfortunately another stereotype. A lot of like Indian kids, you know, you see them like, if you look at spelling bees, who do you see a lot of? Indian kids. They're always portrayed to be these nerds, always, with tech and stuff like that. So she's just stereotype of herself. I'm happy Mindy Kaling's style of writing brown girls that hate themselves wasn't around when I was younger and only became a thing when I was at the age where I loved my heritage and skin color, tweeted a woman of South Asian heritage. I can't imagine being young and already self-conscious and then seeing that portrayal. Velma will build towards the reveal that its heroine is a lesbian across its 10-episode first season. Oh boy. Even here, though, Kaling seems unaware of wider Scooby-Doo lore. Velma already came out as gay last year. She did so in a straight-to-streaming animated film, Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo, a Scooby-Doo sequel that had nothing to do with Kaling or HBO. Kaling has been congratulating herself for having the courage to explore a question that has already been answered. Her self-discovery is a big part of this. We don't want to ignore it. Does it play any real major part in the story? It's what's interesting to people. She's an icon for young gay women. Shut the fuck up. These fucking people in Hollywood, I swear, just her figuring all out is a part of the show and why it's really fun to do. Velma's diversity, along with the East Asian Daphne Shaggy is African American, has drawn fire from the unusual sections of the internet. Indeed, some of those negative Rotten Tomato scores can certainly be attributed to review bombing by trolls. Or maybe people are just legitimately tired of it. The problem is that everyone hates Velma too. Young, old, black, white, straight, queer. The series has annoyed all quadrants. Yeah, and this is something they can't fathom. It's like, what? How can our own people hate it? It has all this diversity and representation. It's making fun of white people. They can't fathom that. They can't fathom the idea that people on their side are tired of the bullshit as well. The question comes up again and again. Why Kaling harbors such apparent animosity towards these beloved characters? What did Scooby-Doo ever do to her? Exactly. Okay, Mindy, show me on the doll where Scooby-Doo touched you. Take Fred, who is portrayed as a privileged man baby yet to enter puberty, despite being age 16. Original Fred was, of course, one of TV's most famous frat boys. But what was clever about the cartoon was that it pulled the rug out from under the stereotype by making him sweet and lovable. Exactly. He was also the one who came up with a lot of the plans. He was smart. He wasn't just the pretty face. He was the leader. He was the one who said, come on, gang, let's do this. Trying to encourage them to go, get things done. Not to mention he was the one who drove. So, but, the stereotype of that, the gorgeous jock was shattered with him because he wasn't just that pretty face or anything. He was a good person. He was a well-written character. And also Frank Welker with his voice for Fred, who he's been doing the voice of Fred for forever. His voice was just had such charm to it. Velma is nowhere near as clever or subversive. Fred is guilty because he's rich and white. There are so many better ways to write a motive, but instead they went for the lowest hanging fruit of social commentary, protested one fan on the Scooby-Doo Reddit forum. You want to make me think you're smart meta show that's subverting all the stereotypes and expectations, then don't use the easiest, most of the on-the-nose types of commentary out there. It's difficult to pin the failure of Velma on any one misstep. Instead, the series is an accumulation of bad decisions. The teenage shower scene in the pilot is queasy. Evil white friend lands oddly. The constant stream, puerile gags speak to a misunderstanding of the original Scooby-Doo charm, and would be more at home on a scatological cartoon such as Family Guy. Kaling's Velma has nothing in common with the character beyond her iconic glasses and sweater. Yeah. I said this a while ago. It's like, basically, it's like they're not those characters. It's basically like people in that universe had just started cosplaying as the group. Like, it's not really Velma. It's just a person who's cosplaying as Velma. Because there's no way that you can make these characters so freaking hated. how just so uncharming. Put it all together, and what results is a Scooby-Doo spin-off by the people who seemingly loathe Scooby-Doo. There is a twist ending too. Despite the backlash, Velma was most watched HBO Max animation ever. Yeah, but look at the scores. Who really cares? Um, it has already been renewed for a second series, which people aren't going to watch because they already know it's a pile of steaming dog shit. It's almost as if it was calculated to trigger the audience and generate lashings of free publicity. YouTube is already littered with furious Velma reaction videos. If that's the case, then the dastardly plan has paid off in spades. No, it got a good first episode. That doesn't mean anything. Every other episode, it's not going to have people watching it. So when season 2 comes around, people are going to say, well, we know it's going to be shit. Why would we watch it? You know, and I keep going back to Doctor Who with this because it's the biggest example I can think of. The entire time Jodie Whittaker was the Doctor, her first episode, like 11 million views because people were tuning in saying, oh my God, what's the first female Doctor going to be like? And then every episode slowly declined after that. So by the time after her, 3 seasons or whatever? So she went from like 11 million, her first episode, down to like barely a million to 2 million. Because people start realizing, oh, it's going to be crap. You know, it's going to be crap. So yeah, great. They had a first great episode. But now that people know that the show is crap, they're not going to watch it. So congratulations on making season 2. No one's going to watch it because we already know what your product is like. Nobody knows how to write good characters anymore because writers are too busy using the profession as a form of therapy for their own hang-ups. Moronic to completely revise Scooby-Doo. It should have been in the Scooby-Doo universe in a different part of the country with a different group of teens. Oh, that would have been cool. Teenagers looking for clues and solving mysteries. That would have worked. Yeah, that would have been cool. Instead of seeing, Fred, Daphne, Shaggy, and Velma, see a new group. Maybe like the next generation. Because these guys have been like teenagers forever. So I would love to see kind of like what they did with Ghostbusters. You had the original group, and now there's like this new generation taking up the mantle as Ghostbusters. I would love to see that kind of story. See a group of 4 new people going out there solving crimes and, solving mysteries and all that. That'd be great. How did it become the most hated show? By taking a beloved IP and changing it to become a woman's whining platform about the things she should have done in high school because she felt picked on. Since when has Mindy Kaling ever been respected as a comedian? Simply put, Mindy Kaling is a privileged Ivy League sorority girl with a massive sense of entitlement and no self-esteem. If it's not broken, don't fix it. A show with no likable characters whatsoever. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, Shaggy's actually in it, but they're not going by Shaggy anymore. They're going by his actual name, Norval. Its diverse casting and racial revisionism has angered extremists. Traditionalists are now extremists. From what I've read, conservatives don't mind the diverse casting. They just don't like the overt, persistent anti-white racism. As a wise man once said, everything woke turns to shit. I mean, it's true. A wise man did say that once. But, yeah. Velma is hated all sides. The left, the right, the middle, old, young, black, white, Indian, lesbian, whatever. Everyone freaking hates this show. Because, it's Scooby-Doo. It's Scooby freaking Doo. And you take it and you make the characters not themselves. Like I said before, it's basically people in that universe cosplaying and pretending they're these characters. Because they're nothing, character-wise, they're nothing like their, the original counterparts. They were amazing. It's like you see them together and you're like, man, I wish I could hang out with them. They seem so freaking cool. And again, you know, it may not be racially diverse, but these two, do you think, put yourself, remember back in school, if you were Shaggy, if you were that, you know, Shaggy type, or you were the Velma type, could you ever imagine hanging out with someone like Daphne or Fred? The cool, popular kids, the rich kids, the sports. No. But yet here they all are coming together out of their love of mysteries. And they're well written. Not to mention that he has one fine ass ascot. But you know, their personalities are so diverse, and that's what makes them charming. That they work together well. But no one ever seems to care about the original characters anymore. It's just like, let's just take them and make them something completely unrecognizable. And then when the fans get pissed off, oh, they're racist and homophobic. When the normal people get pissed off, it's the same thing. Oh, you're racist and homophobic. Stop screwing up characters. How about that? How about good writing? How about charming characters that actually make you feel invested in the show? Because if the story's not good, then at least have characters that are well written enough that makes you interested in watching it. But if the story's bad and the characters are bad, you're going to be sitting there like, one of them could freaking die off and you just be like, so they don't freaking care anymore. They don't care. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.